could be coming to OPD. The department may adopt stricter standards for its behavioral health co-responder unit. Those are the people in charge of responding to everyday mental health crisis calls. Our Johan Marin is on your side, explaining the changes that could be coming.
It's a team that's first to respond to a behavioral health crisis call. They're known as OPD's co-responders. There's at least 6 of them, with at least 1 in each of the city's precincts.
Anytime that there's a mental health component, we can either self-dispatch to assist officers on scene, or they can request us out to assist with the individual that's either having a mental health crisis.
Elisa Limoges has been an OPD co-responder since the program launched just 4 years ago. She deals with different urgent and complicated situations every single day, from suicide calls to those experiencing trauma episodes.
Setting them up to be successful the best way we can.
Lindsay Kroll with OPD oversees the unit. Since the program started, she feels like it's evolved and realized more education is needed to help these co-responders.
We're finding that they're doing a lot more of assessment and playing more of a mental health expert on calls, and just as a liaison for the department to be able to answer questions about mental health related things.
This is why OPD decided to make some new changes. Soon-to-be co-responders may need a master's degree in the human services field. Right now, the current requirement is a bachelor's degree. Among the other changes, officials would also bump up the starting pay by about $8,000 to $55,000.
Really having that education and experience getting your master's degree lends itself to be able to be better suited to assist individuals.
Those like Limoges also agree.
Really to have more understanding of what that individual is going through, and then really to meet them where they're at.
On your side, I'm Johan Marin, 6 News.
We're told 5 of their 6 co-responders have a master's degree, and the one person that doesn't is in the process of getting it. These new requirements will be presented to City Council next week, and if approved, they will take effect immediately.